Welcome to our guide on how to get good at Widow. Perhaps the hero with the highest skill ceiling. Good players are able to carry teammates who are playing with weak controllers. Widow's abilities are not something that are particularly complicated or interesting. However, her rifle itself is certainly her most significant piece of kit. Depending on the player, Widowmaker will either be the hero hard carrying, or the one who is doing less damage than the Mercy. A fully charged shot does as much damage as a direct hit with Farah. However, getting headshots are the sole reason to pick this hero. Being able to instantly kill every single DPS and healer with a single shot across the map is fucking broken in the right hands, and a good player will be able to dictate the entire playstyle of the other team or outright win against teams that fail to recognize such a dangerous threat. If you're ever forced to switch off of Widow, you were either fucking garbage or too godlike to be left alone. However, if you're in the voice chat with your team, it shouldn't be hard to know which category you fall into. Ideally, Widow players will want to stay as far away from an engagement as possible and use sheer distance as their greatest protection. However, if enemies get too close, Widow is able to use a surprisingly powerful machine gun to either deter her attackers or outright kill them. Alternatively, it can be used to secure kills on extremely low health targets when scoping in is less efficient. Players must be mindful that this is not how you should be securing most of your eliminations, and that if you're not getting the majority of your kills from scoping in, you might just want to switch to soldier. Alternatively, if you find yourself in a situation where you can't headshot enough people in time, the grappling hook is a perfect tool to get the fuck out of shitty positions and get back to completely destroying scraps that have no business being matched in your games. Players who are feeling extra confident may also try their luck at a cheeky hook shot, which will add 50 points to intimidation and increase the enemy team's tilt meter by 20%. Another way of dealing with aggressive idiots who try to challenge your superior skills is to use the Venom Mine. This shit does a hefty 75 damage over 5 seconds, making it surprisingly potent to deter the suicidal fucks who think they can end your killing spree. The last ability is the ultimate, which is a contender for both the best and worst ultimate depending on the Widow player. After granting you and your team legitimate wall hacks, it then becomes your job to fucking destroy as many squishes as possible. The best time to activate the ability is when you're about to engage in a fight, or even mid-fight if deemed appropriate. However, if the other team has a Widow and you're confident that you have the better aim, it's recommended to save the ultimate for when they activate theirs. This is to deny any pathetic advantage that inferior player tries to impose. Throughout the match, you ideally want to keep yourself completely uncontested, as a good Widow left alone is arguably the most dangerous threat in the game. The best situation is to be ignored or overlooked completely, or to have no one on the other team who can reasonably contest your position. This can be through having teammates who can pose a more direct and immediate threat. However, this can also be through the sheer and limitless incompetence of the other team to deal with you. It should also be mentioned that although you may be able to wipe half the team by yourself, you should never expect your own team to provide any support or to play the objective at all. But just know that with every kill made, you inch the other team one step closer to tilting into a spiral from which they may never recover. At the start of a game, an early pick is able to open up pushes that would otherwise never be possible. And in many cases, even switching to Widow for the first 10 seconds in order to secure a numbers advantage can be a powerful strategy to catch the other team still arguing about their one questionable hero. In a team fight, it isn't necessarily Widow's role to be killing the entire team, as a much more dependable strategy is to take the easiest shots and butter up the enemies for your teammates to mop up themselves. Although it should be mentioned that oftentimes lighting up the kill feed is the only way to justify your choice of hero to your team. By her very nature, Widow is not a pick that should necessarily ever be on an objective, but rather providing support from a distance. However, when your degenerate teammates inevitably get themselves fucked up, the responsibility may fall onto you to contest the objective and even give your life in order to give the monkeys on your team a few more seconds until they finally decide to help you. It should be mentioned that even though Widowmaker can be excellent for instantly providing a player advantage, this can be easily offset by a mercy piece of shit who will attempt to revert your godlike skill with the push of a button. But an express bullet to the fucking skull will shut down any delusions of the other team being able to win the game. Ultimately, there isn't a single situation, short of the entire enemy team diving on you at once, where you can't aim your way to victory. The only requirements to win against your opponents is a line of sight, a charged shot, and a single exposed pixel. Sneaky Widow players will be so good that they will be able to prevent team fights from happening at all. Taking out an enemy before they are able to get to the front line will either force the other team to retreat or make them commit to an uphill fight. Ideally, killing two of the same role will make it impossible for their team to make any meaningful progress and likely turn the other remaining players into an ultimate charge farm for your team. Players should be mindful that although tanks cannot be killed instantly, they can still be made more redundant than a lifeguard at the Olympics if you're able to land critical hits in quick succession. Widow players should be scanning for hero animations that use predictable movement to secure much easier kills than usual. Doomfist will fuck your shit up if he gets close, but waiting for him to use his stupid uppercut move will sign him up for a one-way ticket to the spawn room. That will show that floaty Terry Crews motherfucker to show you some fucking respect. One of Widow's strongest abilities is being able to create windows of opportunity for an attacking team. This can be done by picking off the dumb shits that think that standing in the open is a good strategy against a godlike sniper such as yourself. However, you'll make those degenerates feel more powerless than the public relations team at Electronic Arts. It's also advisable to look out for stuns that your own teammates can generate and be ready to follow up on these rare and valuable opportunities when they present themselves. Perhaps the biggest counter to a Widow who is able to so effectively use distance as a barrier is another Widow on the other team. If the other team does decide to run a counter sniper, your biggest threat and most immediate objective is to locate them as soon as possible and give them the authentic JFK experience. The winner of this duel will very likely stay uncontested until the loser rejoins the fight, which as mentioned before, is an incredibly dangerous situation. The best strategy to deal with a counter Widow is to locate them first and make the first shot count. If you miss, it is advised that you should relocate in order to avoid retaliation on the off chance that they are actually competent. Also, be aware of whether or not they have their ultimate, as challenging them with such an advantage is stupider than people who get face tattoos without living on a Pacific island. Genji is uniquely equipped to deal with your bullshit, as he both excels in close range, but more importantly, he's able to reflect shots directly back into your fucking skull. However, good timing will leave that sneaky fuck in a worse state than Hanzo put him in previously. Farah is also a competent counter due to the enormous range of her rockets, but her predictable flight path and thick hitbox is no match for your godlike aim. Tracers are also a scary threat to many Widows, but your mine will burn through half her health outright. Alternatively, even a time-traveling optimist with an almost non-existent hitbox can't dodge a bullet to the fucking skull. Reaper is a fucking joke. Just stay more than 5 meters away and you can't fucking lose. Diva is also an enormous difficulty, however being impossible to miss makes her an easy target to chip down over time. And a well-placed shot will immediately end that Mountain Dew obsessed gremlin for good. Barriers on the other hand can be an enormous hindrance to the success of a Widow player. In these situations, it's wise to either reposition to a more favorable sightline or simply track the heads of the overconfident dumbshits until they decide to drop the only thing between you and their immediate elimination. Shitty Widows on the other hand are absolute potatoes and can be shut down by literally any fucking hero. So simply use whoever you happen to be playing at the time, get in their face and make them more useless than a North Korean internet connection. This concludes today's guide on how to get good at Widow. You'll now be able to carry any team in the Overwatch League and be one step closer to enjoying your 7-figure contract. Subscribe for more videos that are written by monkeys on typewriters. But until next time, have fun and embrace the bullshit.